once, but my ass.
I'm only 4. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I'm your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 24th year of the award at the 28th Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 1955. Today's guest is appearing on the show for the third time. You last heard him talking about the Cat Concerto and the Nominees of 1946, and before that, Ferdinandable and the Nominees of 1938. Please welcome Ronaldo Sosa. Hello, Ronaldo.
Hello, thank you for having me back again.
It is always an honor to have you back. And for the third time now, you are a great guest, and we're sure to have you on many times after this as well. But before we get into the shorts, remind us, what is your familiarity with the Best Animated Short category?
Well, I've already said it twice here, and I've watched most of the nominees. I've seen most of the nominees. I still haven't finished them all. But I am very familiar with this category. I really like this category. I like that it's easier to complete than any of the feature ones. You can just if you really put yourself into it, you can get it over in a month.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice. After having been watching the Oscar nominees for years now, and not even being halfway through.
Yeah, the animated short is very fun, especially considering when, like, for, let's say, Best Picture, you end up with a lot of films that are over like 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours long. Yeah, it's just like, oh god.
I have to watch Showa. What was that nominated? I don't think so.
That Showa is a long movie, but that's not Oscar nominee.
Oh, the OJ one.
Oh, yeah, OJ Made in America. Yeah, Best Documentary documentary is either really short or really long. It's just like, because yeah, there's like OJ Made in America, and then there's the Klaus Barbie one, and that one's like 4 hours long. As it's like, it's really strange, but it's fun. But shorts are a lot more easy to get through, and there's a lot of good shorts. And whether this year has the good shorts, we're about to find out.
Yeah,
So,
and since it's so easy to go through them, since they're so short, like you can see the progress in the category as you watch them. If you watch them chronologically, as I have been doing, like you can see the way that it changes from being all Disney to the independent studios coming in, and then now when it's mostly just independent studios getting nominated.
Yeah, like watching the change of animation, especially like this time, like we're in right now, watching the studios go from their very lush styles to when UPA kind of influences all the other studios, and plus the animation becoming, like, the budgets for the animated shorts becoming smaller and smaller, and so it's just like we are watching the downfall of the theatrical animated short in real time right now. And it's fun, I have to say, although it's still kind of sad because we don't have theatrical animated shorts anymore, but we should bring that back somehow.
Yeah, even if it's just playing before a movie, like maybe just play a short before every movie.
Yeah, like we need to make a deal with Nuvi. I'm not sure if you guys have Nuvi where you are, but it's like this pre-show. Oh, that's just a bunch of advertisements for other movies, and stuff. And it's just like I want them to just like play a short like during the Nuvi pre-show. It's just like, come on, you can do that. It's just like have it like sponsored or whatever. It's just like Colgate presents the Nuvi short film of the day or whatever.
Yeah, the only people who do that now are Disney, but
Yeah,
Pixar.
Disney, Pixar. I feel like there's some. I know that Neon tried to do it for a little bit. I think, like, I remember seeing like a short film before, like Ingrid Goes West, and like I think it was Gemini also. Oh, it was just like really weird, like that Like they only did it for a short time, and I wish they brought it back. Like maybe like people complain because it's like they were confused. It's like, hey, this isn't the movie I bought a ticket for or whatever. How
They're
times
very
have
dumb.
changed. But yeah, let's get
You
into
get
these.
more.
Let's get into these nominees now. This year has only four, and the first nominee and the year's winner is Speedy Gonzales, directed by Friz Freeling. This is the ninth nomination and third win for Edward Selzer, fifth nomination and second win for Sylvester the Cat, and the first nomination and first win for Speedy Gonzales. Yes, this is the debut film of the titular character, the fastest mouse in all of Mexico. And it's funny, of the few wins Warner Brothers gets in this category, two wins go to some of their most controversial characters. First, we had Pepe Le Pew, the skunk who can't take no for an answer, and now Speedy Gonzales, who has faced constant criticism for being an offensive Mexican stereotype. But like with Pepe, the controversy he is controversial in itself, because there are plenty of people who defend Speedy Gonzales as well. Well, Speedy has maintained popularity all across Latin America, and while the character is stereotypical, people like him because he's heroic and very quick-witted, and making short work of anyone who goes against him. Going back to his debut appearance, the short starts with Sylvester the cat guarding a cheese factory from the local mice. The mice then decide that there's only one mouse who can get the cheese, Speedy Gonzales. They enlist his help, and Speedy easily gets the cheese from the factory, bewildering Sylvester. Hijinks then ensue as Sylvester tries and fails to stop Speedy from getting the cheese. Ronaldo, start us off. What do you think of Speedy Gonzales, both the character and the short?
Well, as you said, Speedy Gonzales is very popular across Latin America, and I am from Latin America. But I knew of Speedy Gonzales by name, like I've heard that name through my entire childhood and my life, but I had never actually seen any of his shorts or anything about Speedy Gonzales until I started the project of watching the animated shorts.
Mm.
And when I watched this first one, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. It was like it's really just one joke that's repeated over and over. That oh, isn't he so fast? And Sylvester can do anything to stop him. Uh, but it's well done, and like the way that they change the joke and they do it over and over, and it's not exactly the same all the time. So it's fine. It's not a bad way to spend 6 minutes of your life. But as I kept watching the other Speedy Gonzales shorts, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse and more annoying. Like that thing that they do every time that he's like running when they're like, "Ándale, ándale, ándale." It's so it got on my nerves really bad. But it's not that bad in this one because like Speedy doesn't really show up until like halfway through the short.
Yeah.
Like the first one is like you get all of this mice together and they're like trying to see who they're gonna send. And another thing I noticed that this is probably the only time that Sylvester has actually eaten a mice,
Oh
a
yeah,
mouse.
he does get the first one in the short.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's implied that there have been many before because when
yeah,
they throw the little hat and
yeah.
there's like a pile of hats there that are all mice that he's killed. So that was nice for him.
Yeah, he's the most successful that Sylvester has ever been because most of the time he is seen as like starving and
Yeah.
whatever. But here he has a plentiful supply of mice to eat.
Yeah, so yeah, it starts like that, and then they start saying one of them brings up like, "Oh, we should bring Speedy Gonzales." And, like he's a friend of my sister. And they're like,
He's the friend of everybody's sister.
yeah, he's a player.
He is great. I really love that build up they do to Speedy Gonzales. It's
Yeah,
something that really it really sets this apart from like other Warner Brothers shorts where it's just, a small setup, then gag, 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 gag. But then like this setup you build into this character, and it's just like it really helps like add more to like Speedy Gonzales as a character, and it's just like it makes him I find him kind of endearing. I really enjoy like Speedy as a character in this show. I think he's really just charismatic, and of course
I
yeah, he's a lot of fun.
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that on this short. I don't. I think he's used well, and I think he doesn't overstay his welcome because, like I said, he shows up like halfway through it, and when he does show up, he just like does his job and does it and goes like a few times, and he's funny. Like when he's introduced, is like getting shot at and like
Mhm.
mocking all of them, and then someone distracts them and they shoot him through the hat. Uh,
Uh,
so yeah, I like him in this one. I think he's funny, but we'll see later in the
yeah,
other next
yeah,
years. Because the thing that I hate about later is that, like you said, he's very well introduced. They built up to him a lot, like or talking about him, the other mice talking about him, and then he shows up and he does, and he doesn't, and he's great. But then in all of the shorts after this one, like we already know who Speedy Gonzales is and what he does, and he just shows up and he does it over and over and over, and they just keep doing like that really annoying voice. Yeah.
oh
And
yeah,
then another thing that I want to say is that they are in Mexico supposedly, and they are kind of doing this Spanglish thing when they're talking,
yeah.
but they're not really like they say some words in Spanish, but there's some that's good. It seems to me like they were speaking Italian or something because there was a part when they're talking to him to Speedy. I think it's before he first gets to the place to where Sylvester is, and they're
Yeah.
telling him like, "Oh, there's a big problem," and they're like problemoso, algo así, and then grosso, which is like big in Italian. I'm like, what are you saying?
Oh yeah, like El Gringo Gato or whatever they were
El
talking about.
Gringo,
Probablemente.
Sylvester, El Gringo, Pussycat.
Oh, El Gringo Pussycat, yeah. Probablemente. But yeah, it's a very strange story. And like I also want to say that when we actually get to, Speedy Gonzales versus Sylvester, all the things of him like just easily speeding past them. I think they actually do a really good job of keeping each gag like making each different thing funny. And just like I
Yeah,
think there's a really nice build to all of them. And
he rips him a new hole.
oh yeah, I was gonna say that's my favorite one where he just goes straight through Sylvester, or it's like in through his mouth, out through his tail, and then and the best part is like after he gets the cheese, it's just like he's trying to go back, but then realizes, there's the wall or whatever. So he just goes back through Sylvester, in through the tail, out through the mouth, and down the pipe. It's like, oh, that's just a really good one. They they did a good job with this short. Like this isn't one of my favorite Warner Brothers shorts or anything, but this is a good one. This is a good short. This like beginning to end, it's a good time.
Yeah, you're never bored, and all the gags are very different. It doesn't feel like you're watching the same thing over and over. Like another thing that we'll be talking about today.
Or the other Speedy shorts, which you're going to be on another episode talking about
Yeah.
a Speedy soon, in 1959, the Moonbird year, which that'll be fun. But back to this year. um, yeah, Speedy Gonzales, really great. Anything else you'd like to say about this short?
Um, Not really.
All right. Then we shall move on to our second nominee, which is Good Will to Men, directed by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. This is the 18th and final nomination for producer Fred Quimby, and the first nominations for William Hanna and Joseph Barbera as producers. When MGM ended their contract with the Harmonizing Animation Studio in 1937, they hired producer Fred Quimby to set up an in-house studio for making animated shorts. MGM ended up hiring a lot of the Harmonizing staff to work in their new studio, which included two animators named William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. Skip ahead about 20 years, Hanna and Barbera came up with a cat and mouse duo named Jasper and Jinx that became super popular and got Fred Quimby a lot of Oscars to his name. Now we're here in 1955. Fred Quimby is getting ready to retire, and the last short he produces is this one, which is a remake of another short called Peace on Earth, which was made in the first couple years of the new MGM Studios' existence and was also Oscar nominated and considered one of the greatest animated shorts ever made. And it's almost poetic. Peace on Earth was co-produced with Hugh Harman from the old Harmonizing studio, as MGM was taking all that stuff, while this one is being produced by Quimby as he's about to retire, and Hanna-Barbera as they're about to take over the MGM studio. So au revoir, Fred Quimby, the most nominated man in this category that isn't named Walt Disney. And as for what happens to Hanna-Barbera, I'll talk about them next episode. In the meantime, let's get back to Goodwill to Men. Like the short it remained, this is set at Christmas time, which is serendipitous as this episode is coming out 3 days before Christmas. So happy holidays to all of you at home. Whether you celebrate or not, I wish you good tidings. Anyway, we see a choir of mice singing Hark the Herald Angels Sing in what appears to be a demolished church. The older mouse leading the choir reflects, wishing that the men actually practiced the piece they preached, prompting the choir to ask who the men were. So the old one tells a tale of a massive war that ended up destroying all of humanity, and when the men died out, the animals find the Bible and build their own society around it. So the original short I really, really liked. It's a bit hokey, it's a bit like cheesy, it's a bit too religious, but it's a very well animated, very emotional. It just really hits you in the core. It's just like it really works for what it's trying to do. And this one, it's still really well animated, but for some reason it just doesn't hit as well. It's pretty much the same short. Like there's a few small changes here and there, but it's essentially the same thing. It goes through all the same plot beats, and something about it just doesn't hit as well. Oh, and I think I have no idea what it could be. It's just, and I watched Peace on Earth to remind myself of, like what it was like for this episode, and it's just like there's just something in Peace on Earth that isn't in Goodwill to Men that makes this one a little less good. I don't know what it is. How about you, Ronaldo? What do you think?
Well, I don't know what it is either because my memory of Pizza on Earth isn't really that clear. I wish I had seen it now that you're saying all of that because I don't remember it that well. But uh, Goodwill to Men, I liked it more than the first time I saw it, and like you said, yeah, it's not really groundbreaking or anything, but the animation is really great. Like from the like even the parts in the church where nothing really is happening and they're just singing, but the way that the older mouse moves, it's very expressive.
Mhm.
And like the way that it transitions into like all the war things are really beautiful to look at. Like when you
Mhm.
see all the explosions in the background and like it's just really well animated. And there's not really anything much else to it. It's just saying like, "Oh, aren't men horrible?" And isn't it great that they're not here anymore?
Yeah, yeah, like those sequences are so well animated. Like it does a very good job at like it's very expressive, and like the color work is just so good. But and it's just
Hmm. Yeah,
like
it reminded me of the new Quiet on the Western Front, which came out recently.
oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, but like the way that the war scenes were done and that kind of reminded me of that, and like the color palette, like the orange in the sky, kind of
Hmm.
reminded me of that.
Yeah, it very expressive color work, and it does like do like it very effectively gets across the horrors of like war and stuff. And it's like I thought the one scene where it's just like while one plane is over here bombing this city, the other plane's over there bombing the other city. Yeah, I thought that scene in specifically was like really well animated, really well done. But it's just like I think part of the problem is like I don't really care for for some reason the framing device in this one doesn't really work for me. Like in the original, it's like it's this family of mice together on Christmas is and they're singing Christmas carols together, and then it's just like hey, what are the men in the song, and what does goodwill to men mean? And in this one it's like it's a choir in this broken down church or to our as we see where they're preparing for like a Christmas mass or whatever. And it's like I don't know, that one just the setup here just feels a little more cold. I guess it doesn't really feel as together. Like it's a teacher educating the students or whatever as about this history instead of like a family coming together and like
Mm,
learning this together. It's like I don't
yeah,
know.
it feels more personal.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's just I'm just trying to figure out like what the thing is that like really sets the two apart. But I don't know. This is just a good like anti-war short, or and if I remember correctly, this was made or released like after the end of the Korean War, or and we were starting to get involved in Vietnam at this time, I'm pretty sure, but there wasn't like the whole full on war yet. But yeah, it's America just kind of is doing war all the time. This is a kind of anti-war thing like this. It's just going to be always relevant, which sucks,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. I, I am running out of things to say about this one. Do you have
There
anything you,
isn't really that much to say. It's just like the war scenes are really well done, and then there's mice singing in
yeah,
a church.
and then they find the Bible and it's just like thou
Yeah,
shalt not cook. Love your neighbor as
yeah.
yourself.
So you love
That's
thyself.
good lessons. Those men should have followed it.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And Merry Christmas again to use at home.
Yeah, I didn't know this would be coming out on Christmas. So
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it that kind of thing it gets really fun when I'm recording things so far in advance. It's like the episode that comes out on like around Halloween and it recorded at the beginning of September. And right now it's the start of November and we're telling you guys a whole Merry Christmas. It it's fun. I but it's I enjoy recording things so early. It's like other podcasters, they like record things and like release things like the same day, or it's just like I
Yeah,
could
and I
never do
imagine it's a
that.
lot of pressure.
Like I enjoy like I enjoy the regular weekly releases and I like being prepared for that. It's just like and
Yeah. I
I
imagine that it starts feeling like kind of a chore when you do it like that because you're like, oh, I have to record this day and I have to get it edited by this time because then I have to put it out this day.
yeah, exactly. It's just like it that's like constant working all the time. It's just like and my way is just like okay, I have this month where I'm doing all this work and then I get a month where I don't do any work. And it's just like it works for me. And I
Yeah,
guess
that's a good thing that you don't need to do that much preparation. And like in the watching, because they're so short, you can do it easier.
oh yeah, that too. It's just like yeah, I don't have to watch that much. It's just like all these shorts together only come out to like half an hour, I think. And
Yeah,
so it's just like yeah, it's it's pretty easy. Um anything else you'd like to talk about with this short, or shall I move on to something worse?
we can move on.
We can move on to our third nominee, which is The Legend of Rockabye Point, directed by Tex Avery. This is the 10th and final nomination for Walter Lantz, making him the most nominated person to never get a win in this category, and also the first and only nomination for Chili Willy, who is a penguin. Now, you might think, oh, if this is Walter Lantz's final nomination, he must be closing down his studio soon due to declining profitability of theatrical animated shorts, or the studio converts solely to television. But that's where you're wrong. Walter Lantz Productions kept making theatrical shorts well into the 70s. Was it profitable? Who cares? Walter Lantz Productions has never been profitable. They make bad films for dirt cheap for no one to watch, and for the next decade and a half, they just keep churning out shorts with Woody Woodpecker and Chili Willy and other characters that no one cares about. And while yes, they did put some of these shorts on television, in namely for the Woody Woodpecker show, these were for the dying art of theatrical animation as God intended. Walter Lantz Productions is going to end up as one of the only two major studios still making theatrical shorts, along with DePatie Freeling, whom we haven't even run into yet. And anyway, so if Walter Lantz kept making shorts for another decade and a half, and even had the Hollywood advantage, why did he never get nominated again? Well, maybe we can find the answer in today's nominee. The Legend of Rockabye Point is about Chili Willy and a polar bear trying to get on a boat to get fish, but there's a dog there guarding it who keeps biting the polar bear, so the polar bear keeps singing Rockabye Baby so it'll go to sleep, but Chili Willy keeps waking it up. Ronaldo, what did you think of The Legend of Rockabye Point?
That it's abysmal. It's one
Yes,
of the worst nominees in this category ever.
it's so
And
bad.
It's ugly. The the Rockabye baby, every time that they sing it, it sounds hideous.
Hmm.
Like you can even make out what he's saying, like
He sings it so quickly, and it's
yeah.
so nothing.
Like how would anyone fall asleep to that? And yeah, it's ugly, it's repetitive because the whole thing is he keeps trying to sneak into the room with the fish, but the dog is there, so the dog bites him and he has to put it back to sleep, and then he goes back to get the fish, and he wakes up the dog, and it goes over and into like 10, 12, 15 times, I don't know.
Yeah,
And yeah, and it's the same thing again and again with not really that much variation. Like sometimes he brings him outside, sometimes I don't know. It's just like, what is the point of watching? How long is it? Like 6, 7 minutes?
6 or 7 minutes. These are all that short. Uh,
It could have been 2 minutes.
yeah, it is just the same joke over and over and over again, and there is nothing different. It's just as dog bites polar
In
bear
the
sings
ass.
the Rockabye baby, bites him in the ass. Definitely, I gotta be clear on that. And then uh, the penguin wakes it up again, and then it's just on repeat. There is nothing different. It is just the same fucking thing over and over again, and it's just like, and it's not even like this is an original concept or anything. Like, of course it's not, but it's just like we had a Quiet Please, a Tom and Jerry short, which is the exact same thing with like they like the dog is trying to sleep. Tom doesn't want it to wake up. Jerry keeps waking it up, and it's just like, and that one has more variety in the jokes and like the ways the dog wakes up, the ways that Tom puts it back to sleep. But no, it's like for this one, it's just him singing Rockabye Baby, and then the penguin does something. I don't know. Oh, and then the dog wakes up again. It's just like, and at some point, it's just like we know that the penguin also wants to get the fish. So like, why?
Yeah, and he's not doing anything to get the fish. He's just trying to get the polar bear not to get this fit to get the
Yeah,
fish.
which I guess means more fish for himself, but also it's just like, it's so tiring. And it's just like this short has a 3.5 average rating on Letterboxd, which is, like out of five. That's supposedly a good rating. And just like, who are these people who like this short? I have no idea what there is to like in this. It's so dumb. It's so ugly. It's so nothing. Why do you think this is funny?
And the ending is so stupid. Like he gets on a boat, like the what's the name of the penguin?
Chilly Willy.
Chili Willy gets out with a bag that he assumes is full of fish. So the polar bear just takes the bag and gets into a boat, and then stays in like an iceberg that's in the middle of the ocean, and he just lets the boat go for whatever reason, like even because it turns out that the dog was in the bag, but even if it was just a fish, like why would he just let the boat go? He was just gonna stay there after eating the fish and die from starvation anyway. Like what are they eating in there?
Yeah, it's
Because then you see that they turn old and they're like friends now, or like boyfriends. I don't know, because they're Latin
yeah.
America. Oh, sing it to me again.
Yeah. The one thing that I did like in it was that ending where it's just like he's singing the song and then the dog is just like, sing it to me again, Charlie. And then he keeps singing it. It's just like that. I like that as an ending, but it's just like everything leading up to it is bad. It is just a bad short. Or has this it's like also it's just like I don't know. This is just awful. Just an awful thing.
Yeah, this would have been a pretty solid year if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, it would have been a decent year if it weren't for the legend of Rockabye Point. And I imagine we have nothing else to say on this. It's we've made our thoughts very clear.
Yeah, which is that we don't really have any.
Yeah, there is. We're finding that a lot with these. Like, there's not much to say about any of these. They're just kind of fine. But yes, we'll move on to our fourth and final nominee, which is No Hunting, directed by Jack Hanna. This is a 30-second nomination for Walt Disney in this category, as well as the ninth and final nomination for Donald Duck. A lot of final nominations today. Yes, the legendary Donald Duck ends his Oscar career here, and we've been on a long journey with him. We've seen him hang out with his nephews, go on dates with Daisy, be a Nazi, hang out with Chip and Dale, but now Donald is just hunting all alone. Donald will have more shorts made, and he's one of the few characters to have a bit of life in the 1960s, as he is a mainstay of Disney's educational shorts. And even getting some nominations in the documentary short category. But when it comes to the Oscars, for this category, this is it for Donald. He does have an appearance in Mickey's Christmas Carol in the 1980s, but I'm not exactly sure how the nominations are going to be counted for that one. So for now, this is it for Donald. So what is Donald's final Oscar short about? Well, Donald is sitting at home eating dinner, and the narrator tells him about his ancestor who hunted. When finding out that hunting season's about to begin, the ancestor spirit fills Donald, so he heads out to hunt, and we see this satire on the contemporary hunting scene. And so I like this short. I'm a big fan of Donald. I love Donald Duck as a character, and this is just another solid Donald short. Or like there's some good gags in there. And I think it does a really good job of making fun of like the commercialization, I guess, of hunting, like how you have all these hunters who like bring all this unnecessary equipment and technology just to make themselves a little more comfortable out when they're hunting, and it's like how they litter everywhere. Like there's a cameo from Bambi and his mom, that's just like I think like the river that they're drinking from just
Yeah,
fills with
it's full of,
garbage.
and that's
It's
the
just
way
like
that she's like, oh, looks
men
like
is
men are
coming.
here. Let's hide.
Let's go. Oh, yeah, that was a cute little joke. Um, but yeah, I just think this is a good short. Her and just like when Donald is running around the wilderness as hunting season's going off, it looks like a scene out of Goodwill to Men. It's just like it's the middle of a war zone, and it's like, and I mentioned this on Letterboxd, but it's just like Donald is the only duck in this universe. He like everybody else is a human, and he is the only duck who is hunting. And I just feel scared for him because I feel like they're gonna think he's he's something that can be hunted, and I don't want Donald to die. Don't want Donald to be, served on a platter or hung up on somebody's wall or whatever, or
Yeah, and there's
taxidermy.
even that scene later on when they start confusing him with one of the deer because they like shoot one of one of
Yeah,
the
the branch.
logs where people are hiding. One of the branches falls and it falls on him, and it's like the stacks of a deer.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just poor Donald. I feel bad for him. It's just like Donald is such a great character because you can easily put him as like the sympathetic hero of your short, or make
Or
him the
he's a
villain,
villain.
or make him the absolute villain, and just like both of them work extremely well. Like this is very, you can easily compare this to the short from a year or two ago, and I forget what it's called, but it's the one with the bear there who like he's like hiding from the hunters and stuff, and hides in Donald's cabin, and then Donald comes back and he's just like the bear pretends to be a rug or whatever. And so it's like Donald is the villain of that short. You root for him to get hurt, or as it's like you want the bear to escape. And it's
Mhm.
just like Donald is so versatile, and that's probably why he like stuck around for all of he stuck around into the 60s and stuff. He was in all the educational shorts. He became an international phenomenon. He's the most popular Disney character when it comes to, the global scale. Well, and it's just like people love Donald. Donald's great.
Yeah, and he's probably the best in terms of voice acting. He's probably the best Disney character, the most iconic.
Yeah, definitely most iconic voice though. Best is just might be stretching it a bit because it's like you can't understand him a lot of the time. Although I that is that is probably why he became so versatile, because it doesn't matter what he's saying.
Yeah, and there's no need to dub him or anything because you're not supposed to understand anyway.
Yeah, it's great. Donald's great. Uh, I'm trying to think of other things to say about this short, but again, I feel like there's not much to say. It's just like
Yeah,
the
I
most
haven't
we
really
could.
said anything, but you've already said it all. Like, there's not really that much to it, just the hunting. And yeah, I really like the gag, the joke with Bambi and his mom.
Mhm.
And I think there was something else I wanted to mention, but I don't really remember right now. I really should have written something down.
I the only thing else I can think of to say is that there is a random moose in the shore, or that's like flirting with Donald's ancestor's ghost that's inside him. Um, which is a weird plot point now that I'm talking about it. But also that moose is voiced by the director, Jack Hanna. Uh, I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, nothing much to say. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about with this one, or shall we wrap this up?
Anything about this one? I don't think so. Just that I agree. I really Donald's great.
All right. And now that we've gone through and barely talked about these four nominees, let's rank them all. Ronaldo, start us off with your number four.
Number four is easily The Legend of Rockabye Point.
Yeah,
The only thing that I have any strong feelings about this year.
yeah. The one thing that separates from the pack is that the Legend of Rockabye Point is not good. And number three.
Um, three, two, and one are like interchangeable. I don't really care that much about any of them. Like I enjoyed them all. I don't really love any of them, but I guess I'm going to say No Hunting number three because it's maybe the least memorable.
Uh, my number three is Goodwill to Men, which I put there because it's like, while it is beautifully
Mhm.
animated, it's just like the hokey messaging didn't get to me this time, and so I just end up kind of cringing a little when it gets super religious by the end of it, and it's just like, oh, okay. What's your number two?
I guess Goodwill to Men, and I agree with the Academy. And Speedy Gonzales is the best. Probably the only Speedy short I like.
Yes. My number two is No Hunting. Is just like it's a good Donald short, nothing special, but it's a good Donald short. And yeah, my number one is also Speedy Gonzales. This is just it's a good, fun Looney Tunes short with a good, fun character, at least at this point. And it's just like, yeah, we like Speedy Gonzales, which I think I told you before the episode that I when I watch Speedy Gonzales when watching these four shorts, it's just like, oh, this is good, but it's like there's no way this could be like the best episode, the best short in this lineup. But then it became the best short in this lineup because it's just like the rest of them are just also just okay, except for of course Rockabye Point, which is awful. But yeah, this is just a very
Yeah, it's like a
whatever
win
kind
by
of lineup.
default.
Yeah, it's just like these three aren't bad shorts by any means. It's just they're just kind of there, you know. So,
Yeah.
before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Ronaldo, or anything you'd like to promote?
Um, any final thoughts? Just the same. That it's a very fine year for the category. Not too bad, but also not great. And to promote, I don't really have anything. I'm just on Twitter for as long as that's still around.
I don't think Twitter's gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Or,
not gonna go. It's just gonna be something else.
I like this is probably going to age very poorly, especially by the time this episode actually comes out. But I'm going to say that like Elon is probably not going to stay very long. I think there's going to be like some way where he just kind of gets ousted or something. Like probably not by the time this episode comes out, but I feel like within the next year, he's not going to be owning Twitter anymore. He's going to find a way to sell it to somebody, or he's going to be
Probably not for
forced
the
out of
same
management.
amount
Yeah,
that he bought
yeah,
it.
for a lot less than he actually paid for it. But yeah, well, thank you, Ronaldo, for coming on the show, and thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been the short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.